Chris Matthews has apologized to Hillary Clinton. Huh, that's interesting. So it looks like his bosses, which I don't think he'd have done it on his own. I don't think he was like, let me look into my heart, right? Although that's kind of what he says in the video. Probably a combination of he realized he was wrong, I hope, and a combination of his bosses are like, nah, this is not the way to go, and this is not the way to appeal to our audience, our building audience. So he came out with an apology today on his show, and let's share it with you. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. Let's listen to it, and then I'll break it down a little bit afterwards, too. Here's Chris Matthews on the show today.
In the midst of talking about all this, almost always without a script, and almost always on tricky subjects of gender and race and right and left and what's in our country's interest and who I think is telling the truth and who I think isn't, I know I'm dealing with sensitive feelings. I've accepted all of this as part of the business I have chosen. This program, I am proud to say, is tough, fearless, and yes, blunt. I want people to react when I say something. I don't like saying things so carefully, so politically correctly, that no one thinks I even said anything. What I've always counted on in all the wild, speeded-up conversations on Hardball and elsewhere on television is my good heart. I've always felt that no matter how tough I got, how direct, how provocative, how purposely provocative, people out there watching would know I was not out against them, that it was them I was rooting for. That while I was tough on individuals who sought to lead the country, I was not against the hopes we all have for a fair shake. In fact, a better deal for people who have been held back before we came along. Some people I respect, politically concerned people like you who watch this show so faithfully every night, people like me who care about this country, think I've been disrespecting Clinton, not as a candidate, but as a woman. They point to something I said on MSNBC's Morning Joe after the New Hampshire primary, that her election to the U.S. Senate and all that's come since was a result of her toughness, but also the sympathy for her because her husband embarrassed her by the conduct that led to his impeachment, because he, in the words I used, messed around. The truth, of course, is finer, smarter, larger than that. Yes, Hillary Clinton won tremendous respect from the country for the way she handled those difficult months in 1998. Her public approval numbers spiked from the mid-40s up to the 70s in one poll I looked at. Why? Because she stuck to her duty. She performed strongly as First Lady. She did such a wow of a job campaigning for Senate candidates, especially Chuck Schumer of New York, that she was urged to run for a Senate seat there herself. She might have well gotten that far by another route and through different circumstances, but this is how it happened. The rest is history. How Hillary went up to New York, listened to people's concerns, and beat the odds, as well as the Republicans, to become a respected member of the U.S. Senate. So did I say it right? Was it fair to say that Hillary Clinton, like any great politician, took advantage of a crisis to prove herself? Was her conduct in 1998 a key to starting her independent electoral career the following year? Yes. Was it fair to imply that Hillary's whole career depended on being a victim of an unfaithful husband? No. And that's what it sounded like I was saying, and it hurt people. I'd like to think normally like what I say. In fact, normally like me. As I said, I rely on my heart to guide me in the heated, fast-paced talk we have here on Hardball, a heart that bears only goodwill toward people trying to make it out there, especially those who haven't before. If my heart has not always controlled my words, on those occasions when I have not taken the time to say things right or have simply said the inappropriate thing, I'll try to be clearer, smarter, more obviously in support of the right of women, of all people, to full equality and respect for their ambitions. So I get it. On the particular point, if I'd said that the only reason John McCain has come so far is that he got shot down over North Vietnam and captured by the enemy, I'd be brutally ignoring the courage and guts he showed in bearing up under his captivity. Saying that Senator Clinton got where she's got simply because her husband did what he did to her is just as callous, and I can see now it comes across just as nasty, worse yet, just as dismissive. Finally, as if anyone doesn't know this, I love politics. I love politicians. I like and respect people with the guts to put their name, their very being out there for public approval so that they can lead our country. And that goes for Hillary and Barack and John and all the rest who are willing to fight to take on the toughest job in the world. So let's get on with the show.
This is, I think, important for a number of things, not just related to Chris Matthews. There's a larger point here, and I'll get to that at the end. But first, let me analyze what he said there. Number one, he starts in with I'm not politically correct, so get off my back. And I was like, is this really going to be an apology, or is this, if you were offended, you're a wuss, so I guess I'm apologizing to you for you being a wuss. There's apologies like that. But you know what? To be fair to him, it didn't wind up like that. But one other thing that I was amused by before I get to what I liked about it was he's like, no, but I have a good heart. Please like me. Like me. Don't you like me? He's a funny guy, man. And look, it's human. I get it. Who doesn't want to be liked? I want to be liked too. And so but he's over the top on it. And he wants the politicians to like him. He wants the audience to like him, of course. And then at the end he says, I love politicians. Chris, bring it down. Okay, you shouldn't love politicians that much. They're not that great. Okay, trust me. So, but he says, look, I have a good heart. I'm looking out for you. Poor me. I'm looking out for you. Of course, unless you're a woman, in which case, okay, get out of here. But if you're a guy, oh, you're tough, aqua, velva, leather, cowboys. Okay, now I'm being a little unfair to Matthews there, but and it's more related to Hillary Clinton than it is to other women in general. I haven't seen him be, I've seen him be a little dismissive to Nancy Pelosi as well, but we'll leave that aside for now. But, by the end of the apology, he made it real. He made it a little convincing. He said, look, on this issue, yes, her husband cheating on her was a factor, but she took that adversity and made it something, like a good politician. In fact, I think he said great politician. She turned that adversity into accomplishments and became a senator, et cetera, and did some good things. So by the end, I was buying his apology. And look, here's the thing. It's a tough job. We don't need to shed any tears for him or anybody who has that job. Anybody else like that? Even on smaller levels, who talks all day. And you say things sometimes that don't make sense, etc. So the trick isn't to beat up on everybody who's ever said anything wrong. The question is, do they learn from it? Right? And do they adjust? Do they make changes? And here, I get a sense that he is trying to learn from it and adjust and make changes. Look, he makes a lot of money. He's famous. He has a great job. That's not what I mean by the fact that his job is tough. I mean, if you talk that much, you're bound to say things that piss a lot of people off. So I'm ready to get beyond it and say he made a good apology, a fine and what appears to be a sincere apology. So let's give him another chance. Let's see how he does going forward. And I think he's learned the lesson. So, Chris Matthews, I pardon you. Oh, that's huge. But that pardon is mitigated. Let's see how you do from now on. We're watching. But that gets to my larger point. Putting the kidding aside, look, in the past, all that's ever happened is Republicans beating the crap out of these media folks, and the media guys coming on and apologizing to the Republicans. I'm so sorry, I won't be biased. I won't be liberal, I won't be biased. Please, I'll do whatever you say. Republicans are awesome. Right? For the first time, we see the Democrats and the liberals and the progressives beating up on the media, and the media apologizing to a progressive candidate or a Democratic candidate. Man, that's a big sea change. That's not a small thing. It's a big thing. And here's Chris Matthews. And it's not limited to Chris Matthews and Hillary Clinton. This is because MSNBC, partly certainly because MSNBC is getting better ratings by appealing to progressives, and the progressives have gotten tougher and demanded these apologies, and it's worked. And I think that's a great thing, not because I want apologies on both sides, but because we need to have balance. They need to understand there are consequences if they're unfair to Republicans, and also consequences if they're unfair to Democrats. And for the first time, we're beginning to go towards that balance, and that's why this Chris Matthews apology was bigger than just this issue and was a great sign of things ahead. I hope that all of the media gets a lot more balance and minds what they say about Democrats just as much as they mind and are panicked over what they say about Republicans.